going to move to the next part of our schedule, where we're going to be looking at our panel discussion. We've got some wonderful people joining us on the panel, and I'm just going to reintroduce them again. We've got the lovely Tshepiso Leballo, who's a brand manager. She's a brand manager at Sandoz, but a beauty with brains, eh? We've brought it here. We are transforming the landscape. We've got ladies on board as well. Shout out to Think Big 39. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to start off with ladies first as I'm interviewing them. Tshepiso, I've known you for some time, man. I've known you since the times at Wits where we were getting mugged together on the streets. And yeah, you studied biochemistry and molecular biology, but you ended up in sales. Like, was that part of the plan? Or how did your journey actually kind of progress from when I left you at Wits and we parted ways? None of us were speaking about sales, so it must have been something we stumbled across. How did you navigate your career, starting with a BSc in medical, in biochemistry actually, and end up in sales? And the reason why I'm asking this is because many of us, we often study things that we don't end up in, and this might be helpful to somebody who's at the early stages of their career thinking, hey, I'm stuck, and they're not necessarily stuck.
Absolutely. So thank you, Ezekiel, and good evening, everyone. As I have been introduced, I am the lovely Tshepiso Leballo. And yeah, my background, how I started, we did first year with Ezekiel. So I started BSc and I majored in biochemistry and microbiology. And the plan there initially was to do my science degree and then from then on move on to medicine. So along the lines, I saw friends that were doing medicine. I did some job shadowing and decided that, maybe this is not for me. And then as I went on to my studies, I fell in love with pathology. So what I did is I worked in my third year, I worked at the Roodepoort forensics department, and I did some pathology work. And yeah, I did it for 3 months. And then from then on, I decided, nah, this is not for me. So for those that know me, thank you to the audience that have joined on my behalf, is that I'm a very bubbly person. I am an extrovert. So I wanted to go into a career where I will be interactive with people. And so what I did is that I tried to search that with the BSc degree, what other fields can I go into, besides working into the lab, because I needed a field that would allow me to interact and engage with people. So what I did is I searched, I looked around, and I stumbled into Tshepiso, who's also one of our panelists today. And yeah, just started finding out. So he was into sales, but by that time he was working for Sanofi. Just started finding out, what is the sales business? What does it entail? And very importantly, he became my mentor. And yeah, so that's exactly how I stumbled into sales. So I started as a pharmacy sales rep. Then I became a doctor detailer. And then so I moved from science, I moved into sales. And now eventually, as Ezekiel has introduced me, I am a marketing manager. So I now moved into marketing. So that is basically the story about how I transitioned from science to sales and then into marketing. So it is very, very important for people to know that it's not always that whatever you study is what you will land, where you will land up working. So it's very important for you to be open to different fields and try out different things. So like I said, I talk a lot, so I'm just going to stop there and give other people a chance. Thank you, Ezekiel.
Sure, Tshepi, thank you so much. That was quite a mouthful, and it's exciting to see a lady doing well in a sales environment, which, contrary to popular belief, people might think it's not an environment for ladies. But here's one lady who is thriving in that specific environment. Thanks a lot, Tshepi. I'm gonna bring you back just now. In the business environment, Tshepiso, if I could just have you back. And just for the benefit of the audience, I'm sorry, we will make sure that we end promptly by 19:30 at the latest, to give you enough time as well just to ask our panel questions. But now getting to Tshepiso, we hear so much about the challenges that women are faced with, perhaps lack of transformation in the work environment. But we see you thriving, for example, at Tshepiso, you know? But in your estimation, what are the sort of, it's a similar question to what I asked Justin, but I think I'd like to hear it from a female perspective. What are the sort of skills that one needs to thrive? And I also know you're a bit of a hustler on the side with side hustles. So from an entrepreneurial perspective, as well as looking at business itself, what are the key skills that you would say one needs in order to thrive?
Okay. All right. So some of the soft skills that that I'm about to talk about, Justin touched on. So I'll be just brief, just in the space of time. But the most important one for me has been active listening and probing. So you need to be a good listener, you know. Yeah, so be a good listener, and you need to understand the customer's needs or the needs of any other stakeholder. So you remember that in sales, you're not just working with the customer, you're also working with the internal people, your managers, and so forth. So very important is not just to listen, but listen to understand, because not all listening is hearing. So this is where probing comes in as well, where I say that probing is very important, because that's where you need to dig deep into understanding what is the customer's needs, or what is the need at hand. So for me, that is not just in sales, but just in life. You need to have active listening and probing skills. So that's the first one. The second skill that one would need to have, and this is not just in sales, you know, this is just in everybody, any working experience in general, and entrepreneurship as well, is that you need to be able to solve problems in a diplomatic manner. So the business environment is very dynamic, and every day is never the same. So you'll have good days, you'll have bad days, you'll have challenging days, and so forth. So a good problem solver will always anticipate problems ahead ahead of time, and develop an alternative solutions for problems in the future. So for me, that is quite key. And then last but not least is that you need to be a team worker, and you need to be a leader. Even though currently you are an employee and you're not a leader, you need to have a leader mindset, because that's how one becomes spotted into getting into a managerial position. I'll stop there. I could go on, but I'll stop there. Thank you.
Sure, sure. When are you releasing your book?
Very soon. Very soon.
Thanks a lot, Tshepi. Who's 20 years old, just about to get out of varsity. What would you say to them today? What are the key lessons that you would share with them?
Yeah, so that's a very powerful question. And if I look at the 20-year-old Tshepi, the first thing I would tell her is that you need to fly the black girl flag high. And I always preach it every single day, you know. It is challenging. Being a woman in the business world is not easy, you know. So you need to be resilient, keep pushing until you get to the point where you want to. And very important is to learn as much as you can in all the fields. Explore, and don't be afraid to try new ideas. You know, don't sit in a block. Always try new things, because you don't know where you might land. You know, look at me. I started in science, and I'm now in marketing. I didn't even study marketing, but this is where I am. The second thing I would tell a 20-year-old Tshepiso is that while you are still young, so it's alluding as well to Tabo's point, and I do many talks to young upcoming professionals, and this is what I always preach, and I always preach it to the young Tshepiso, is that while you're still young, start setting money aside each month for savings and investments. So at a young age, you reap the rewards when you get older. And then last but not least is that choose a career or a major that you will love and do great things in the world. Most importantly, reach for the stars. And something else which is very key is network. Network, because no man is an island. The only way that you can get higher into the corporate ladder, or if you're not planning to go corporate, you want to go into business, is through networking. For us, networking was Wits Business School. Networking could be, golf sessions and so forth. Any platform of networking that you can go into, do it, because it will help you in the future. That's me.
Oh, that's amazing, Tshepi. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. How will technology change the way of selling in the current environment we find ourselves in with the global pandemic? Sorry, Tebs, I see such a question from you. Tshepi, I don't know if you want to give that question a bash.
Hi, yeah. Is it the one? Yeah. How will technology change the way of selling in the current environment we find ourselves in the global pandemic? Is it that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. First and foremost, now everything is now virtual. So we are now using your things like, example today, we're using things like Teams, your Zooms, etc. All digital platforms to have things like your business reviews. Now we're having webinars, etc., and things like emails. So for me, I think that technology now is making selling easier, and it's making it faster and more efficient. In a sense that things can be recorded. I would just like to give one example. So I'm going to be very brief because of time. I would like to give just one example where we're in the traditional space, in the old time, we would have face-to-face engagement. This is an example that happened to me, where you go to a customer and you would ask them, how many bottles of ABC should I place for you? And the customer would say, please place me 100 bottles. And then you come 2 weeks later and the customer is like, I did not order those 100 bottles. So now that things are virtual, it can be recorded on email, or if we're having virtual meetings like this, things can be recorded so that when you have to go back to a customer that says, I did not order that 100 bottles, you can show them proof. So that is how technology is evolving in the selling space. So basically making it easier, more efficient, and faster. I hope that answers the question.
Ah, fantastic. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Tshepi. That certainly answers our question.